Welcome back, guys, to the Futbal Biz podcast. As always, I'm Grayson Mortimer. He is Hunter Boyven. And before we get off to this episode, unfortunately, there was some tragic news in the football world over this last about week and a half or so. It's been a while since we've made one of these, but a couple big deaths in the football world. The first is Christian Atsu for a team in Turkey, and formerly of Newcastle and Chelsea. Massive loss. He was unfortunately a victim of the earthquake that happened in Turkey and Syria. Yeah, it's a massive loss there, as well as Real Madrid legend Amancio, who passed away at the age of 83.
Yeah, just again, I feel like since we've done this podcast, there have been a few significant deaths. It's quite unfortunate. I'll say the same thing that I say for each. It's very sad. It's a tough loss for the community, especially, and the families involved. Of course, both deaths being significantly different in manner. It's tough either way, no matter what. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna do my best to find a link to a GoFundMe for Atsu in particular and the all of the victims of the earthquakes that have happened over there. I mean, I'm sure anything counts. I'm gonna see if I can do a donation to a GoFundMe or something along those lines. So, really big loss there. Atsu was only 31, which I mean that's still a very young man and one that really hurts. The community. It was a shame too because originally they said he was safe, but then they realized that they were incorrect, and yeah, unfortunately he passed away as a result. Um, so yeah, not really much else I can really say about that. As for Amancio, um, Real Madrid will remember his legacy. He lived a good life, and it's another big loss in the football world. And I mean, he's an absolute legend. His card is recognized on FIFA and everything. So, not really much else I can really add to that.
Rest in peace. Yeah, that's where I'll put that. You said it very nicely.
Thank you. Yeah, but as for the more positive things that happened a lot across the last week, last episode we did a lot of UCL predictions. And yeah, let's take a look at how those went. So the first game that was played, or first set of games, I should say, that were played were Dortmund against Chelsea and AC Milan against um, Tottenham. Now, I think I remember I said that Tottenham was going to win. They didn't, but it was only 1-0, so they're very much still in this tie. And we both thought that Dortmund was going to absolutely run away with it. It ended up being 1-0 off of an Adeyemi goal. So, I mean, both British teams, despite the fact that they lost, they're both still in this tie.
Back here, a little trouble there.
Oh,
Um,
good.
all right. Anyway, yeah. So I'll go to the Dortmund one first. I did watch the Dortmund game. That was actually one I was able to catch the whole thing, basically. Yes, it was 1-0, but I do think that Dortmund were clearly the better team. I don't think there was much tying them together. I will say maybe the only positive that Chelsea took away from this, beyond the fact that there wasn't a complete bashing, João Felix looked pretty good. I think that was one takeaway for them. He was probably one of the only ones who had some actual chances on net. Of course, he hit the bar once or twice, but it happens. Dortmund also had a lot of chances, but I think just in the grand scheme of things, they looked a lot better. And yes, they were at home, but I think they'll probably still be able to take it at Stamford Bridge.
I would agree. And if Chelsea somehow win that, I mean, that's just absolutely shocking. I mean, Graham Potter, since becoming manager of Chelsea, has won 2 games out of 14. That's absolutely insane. I don't know how.
Not coming against any big people.
Yeah, I don't understand how that record has allowed him to have a job. Like they fired Mourinho for better numbers than that. Like this is not going to get better for them, and they have to fire him. Like just bring Luis Enrique or Pochettino or somebody in because dear God, Graham Potter is not the answer. But I digress. As for the other match, Tottenham, yeah, I mean, they lost 1-0, but I have a feeling that unlike Chelsea, I think they'll turn the tie.
No matter what happened, I think it could go either way. I can't say after watching the highlights of the game that it's anyone's match really. Of course, having the 1-0 is good for anyone, but based on what I saw, it could go either way. So I'm not going to make any crazy predictions for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean nothing too crazy. I'm thinking it'll maybe be 2-0 or 3-1. I don't think it'll be a massive score line. And then another game that happened in that week is one that you would be very happy about, which is Bayern Munich beating PSG 1-0. Um, once
I'd love
again,
to talk about.
yeah, go right ahead.
All right, so let's say about 60 minutes or so, 60 plus. Bayern completely dominated the game. If you could win halves, they won the first half by a landslide. Neymar looked awful. The rest of the team looked awful. I think this kind of exposed the fact that PSG is nothing but a top three, or a front three rather. Um, Once you get past the trio up top, there's nothing saving you back there. Donnarumma made some very crucial saves, and he even got a hand on the goal that was scored. But beyond that, there's nothing much saving PSG as a team. Of course, then enters Mbappe, completely changed the landscape of the game just out of nowhere. The speed he has, he just commands a presence. He's a very terrifying person to come up against. And thankfully, as a fan, VAR stepped in when it was needed most and saved the win for Bayern. I would have been happy with the draw because it was at PSG, and going there and then being able to come back with a draw would have been fine. But obviously, a win is much better. So I think next game he will be playing the full game, and Bayern's going to need to figure something else out.
Yeah, I mean, since then, obviously Neymar has been injured, so I think that he'll be out for the second leg. I think they haven't exactly established a timetable yet for when he'll be back, but obviously that favors Bayern Munich. Obviously, Pavard was sent off in the final, one of the final minutes of the game, so he will not be an option for Bayern. But I mean, they're definitely, as you
It's
kind of
okay.
just shrugged off there are bigger losses for Bayern. I mean, it wasn't like it was Dio or Alfonso Davies or somebody like that. Um,
Because now you brought João Cancelo, so he could just plop him right where he was.
exactly. So Cancelo, I mean, he's going to step in no problem there. But I mean, yeah, PSG did not have much in this game before Mbappe came on. Messi was contained very well by the Canadian boy wonder that is Alfonso Davies. And Messi was thankfully nice enough to swap jerseys with him after. So
Finally.
big, that's what we like to call Big Dub Davies. He got the win and he got Messi's jersey. I don't really think there's a better day than that. So yeah, Big Dub Davies. I'm penning that right now. But as for the final game that was the last week, it was I believe Benfica against Bruges, and no surprises here. Scott Parker gets absolutely outclassed again, and by Benfica win 2-0 away, and yeah, they're gonna win the home match easily.
Yeah, I couldn't say I was too surprised. I mean, I feel like leading up to this round before Scott Parker was a thing, like you said, Bruges was pretty decent. I think they performed well in the group stages, but Benfica was already performing better. So now you bring in the Scott Parker effect, all that. It's kind of a mismatch. So I think there's no real surprises here as far as result goes.
Yeah, I mean, 2-0 comfortable win. I felt bad for Tejon Buchanan. I mean, it's his team is just not going to go anywhere in the UCL this year. They did well enough to get to the point that they're at, beating Atletico Madrid, but yeah, it's not happening. They're not going to win the second leg. There's no chance. Yeah, and now moving on to the games that happened this week. The first one that we're going to talk about, and probably the one that we're going to put the most emphasis on this week, Real Madrid walk into Anfield and embarrass Liverpool. Like I'm obviously a Madrid fan, and I love this team. I've loved this team since I started loving the game. to watch the guys that I grew up watching, in Luka Modric, Karim Benzema, Tony Cruz, like to watch, well, Cruz not so much, but to watch Modric and Benzema just walk into this stadium with Vinicius Jr. and just dominate every aspect of this game after the Liverpool second goal. I mean, I was ecstatic. I mean, this was awesome to watch. Watching the fact that Liverpool had a great start and then Madrid just dictated everything after that. I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, it was absolute dominance.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to give credit to Darwin because that was honestly a very nice goal to look at, and it got the ball rolling very fast as well. Um, you've highlighted the good things of this game, but there was a lot of bad things in this game for both sides. A lot of keeper mistakes, really stupid mistakes on both sides. Of course, Liverpool made more mistakes that cost them, but it was definitely, I don't even know a good adjective to describe this game. It was really all over the place. But to go to Anfield and score five unanswered goals, you gotta crush the stadium now. This is not the fortress that it's supposed to be. How do you let up five goals at your own place? That's crazy. Unanswered.
Yeah, for the stadium that Anfield's supposed to be, and it still is. I mean, it's a dominant venue. It's not a place where teams just walk in and win. And the fact that Madrid did exactly that, I think says either I don't know if it says more of how good Madrid is or how bad Liverpool is. I'm going to go with how bad Liverpool is because Madrid, I mean, in La Liga this year have not been, I mean, they've been okay, but they haven't been the
Pretty
best. I
average.
mean,
Yeah.
Barcelona is still above them by 8 points and they just got tossed by Man United in the Europa League. So, I mean, it's tough to say really. But I think Liverpool's just in a really bad run of form. I mean, they obviously won two Premier League games on the bounce, but I mean, no offense to Newcastle, but they are not Real Madrid. I mean, Newcastle's obviously a very good team in their own right. They're not where they are, by a fluke, but they're not Real Madrid, especially Real Madrid in the Champions League when they're behind. I mean, the fact that I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, the goalkeeping mistake. I mean, Courtois, absolutely, absolute howler. Everyone was sliding in the first half. Like, I think the field was really wet or something like that. But Courtois bounces off his knee. Salah puts it behind him, and then Allison repays the favor by kicking it directly into Vinicius. Um, but yeah, I don't know what just happened, but Liverpool are not good right now. They're not, and they're not going to get top four.
No, I don't think the floor is really that feasible if we're talking about the Prem. There's no chance they come back from this. And we've obviously been wrong before, but I don't see any uh, realistic way that they can come back from a 5-2 deficit at the Bernabeu. And I just don't see it.
Neither do I. I Madrid have absolutely, I think, just stolen this one. I mean, to be honest, when the game first started, I was worried. I mean, after Salah scored off of Courtois' error, I'm like, oh dear God, like how many is this going to be? Then Vinicius cuts in, scores a very nice goal in the bottom corner. Then Allison, matches Courtois' error. And then, we go into halftime 2-2. And at that point, I was like, okay, for how bad Madrid started, I will take that. That is a great result. I would have taken that for the game. Knowing how good Anfield is, I would have taken that. Then, Modric throws in a beautiful
Right
ball.
set
No
piece.
one's marking Militao. Militao heads it right past Allison.
It was so
Joe,
easy.
what was that?
It was so easy. Like it just looked
Oh,
effortless.
absolutely. And it was. I mean, no one was on him. Um, and then, Benzema has a good link up play with Rodrigo, hits it off Joe Gomez, who, by the way, Joe Gomez is not Liverpool quality. He's really not. I mean, he was exposed in every single facet of the game. I mean, it was bad. Like he couldn't close Vinicius on the first goal. It deflected off of him. I mean, Benzema ran by him on the last goal, also ran by Allison, and just rifles it in the top left corner with his left foot. Like Joe Gomez was absolutely outclassed in this game, and he was exposed. I don't know why Matip didn't start. He came off the bench later, but yeah, Gomez is not guy. I would be very surprised if he is a Liverpool employee after the summer.
We'll find out. I think Matip has kind of proven himself to be a little bit better than he's been given credit for.
Yeah, and then I
But
don't
yeah,
I don't know if Konate's hurt right now.
I haven't seen him in a while, so I'm gonna assume maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
Could be
Mr.
starting if not.
Yeah, it's possible Evan knows more about that than we do. He keeps a closer tab in the team, but I mean, the fact too is that Madrid didn't have Tchouaméni and Cruz for. I mean, Cruz came in later, but they didn't have Tchouaméni for the most of the match either. Like they won with Camavinga in midfield. I mean, that is scary. It just is. Madrid, I think,
A good
after
team.
this game, have become my favorites to win the UCL. Um, I just they're an unstoppable force in the Champions League. So I mean, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, it could be that could be that. It could be just a Liverpool bane of their existence type thing. But yeah, we'll get to the next round when it comes. I'm not gonna make any crazy predictions
Exactly, but I
right
do
now.
think I do think Madrid is going to make the round of eight. I think
They're
that's
up there.
pretty. I think that's a pretty safe bet. Um, and yeah, Mo Salah is never going to get his revenge, is he? It's
Sad,
lovely.
you would like it for him, but it's not gonna happen.
It's not no, not a chance. But the other game that was that day was Napoli facing uh, Eintracht Frankfurt. I mean, Napoli had an easy 2-0 win away. Victor Osimhen scores again. Kvara with a beautiful assist. I mean, this team is flying. I mean, they're where they are in Serie A by no fluke, and then they beat Frankfurt, who German teams have done favorably well in Europe this year. Um, but yeah, they took care of Frankfurt easily, and Frankfurt is some of the best fans that I've seen. So definitely walking into a place that's not easy to play in, and they get the win.
If I'm being honest, I before the game started, I would have flipped the scores around. I would have expected a 5 goal out just from Napoli, and then maybe a 2-0 game from Madrid. But whatever the case may be, they both won the games. They probably should have. Definitely Napoli. But yeah, it was good to watch.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say there. I mean, Osimhen is one of the best players in Europe this year. He's a guy that I think a lot of people sleep on. I was actually at a conference last weekend, and there was a BR football poll, and it was Victor Osimhen or Marcus Rashford. Now, as good as Rashford has been, I mean, since the World Cup break, Osimhen's been good the whole year. I mean, I said Osimhen because obviously take Rashford out of Man U, they're not the same team. There's no doubt in my mind there. But take Osimhen out of Napoli, and I don't think Napoli's first. I really do think that Osimhen has been that guy for Napoli, and yeah, his numbers are insane this year. Um, he's averaging close to a goal a game, and he's been absolutely fantastic. I don't really have much else to say about him, but I think Victor Osimhen is. I mean, we're talking about easily Serie A MVP in my opinion.
I think over the summer and the transfer windows, they did a really good job replacing a lot of key players. Like you lose Koulibaly, who's easily your best defender, and it looks like he never even existed. Honestly, they bring in Kim Jin. I don't know if that's what it is.
I'll have
They
to
bring
look.
him in as a central. Huh?
I'll have to look.
Yeah. Sorry, but they bring in him who at the time wouldn't have been a high caliber defender as far as name recognition goes as well. And now Koulibaly, he's completely silent at Chelsea. You don't hear anything about him. Things aren't going so well. So it's just they did really well to rework their team. And even without Osimhen, I think they completely deserve all the credit and wins that they're getting.
Yeah, the guy you're referring to is Kim Min Jae. One of the Kims in South Korea's back line, and I would say easily the best one. I didn't know much about him, but he played for Fenerbahce before Napoli. Um, and he's 26 and he's come in and filled the void left by Koulibaly. He's been absolutely fantastic. Um, and I think I would say, the Asian leagues are slept on. The Korean league has produced a lot of guys. The Japanese league has produced a lot of guys. Um, and both have decent national teams. I mean, there's been a good inflow of Asian players that just go completely under the radar. And Kim Min Jae is one of those guys. I mean, I haven't heard his name anywhere being linked with the big clubs. Yet Napoli is absolutely cruising with him in the back. So I don't really know what else to say about him. I mean, fair play. Napoli is proving once again that they are a force to be reckoned with. As for Kolo Muani on Frankfurt, not a good day for you, my friend. You're a striker and you got
So
sent off.
yeah, I mean, I didn't think there was much of a chance for them to come back, but now that you're missing basically your best player for the next leg, it kind of confirmed your spot in the bleachers for the next round. So
Yeah,
I
not
think
good
that,
on his
yeah,
part. As for the final day of games, there were two played at the same time. The first one was Manchester City against Leipzig. And as a City fan, I was put to sleep by this match. It was so boring. Like Mahrez scores a good goal off the rush, but after that, I mean, City had no play in the second half. Leipzig dominated. They got a deserved goal through Vardiol, the big center back from Croatia, scoring off a corner. I mean, they Leipzig deserved to win this match. City were not the level that we would expect. They were much better in the first half, but Leipzig dominated the second and definitely had a couple chances. Ederson made a couple decent saves. Um, but yeah, overall, I mean, as somebody who likes Manchester City, it's a decent result, but it's definitely a result that you wouldn't want. You would want to take something from this game, take the win. But I think going back to the Etihad, I think City will be able to win the second leg there.
you need a lot more people to play like they're being paid for. I will say I think Jack Grealish has looked a lot better over time since the World Cup. I was slandering him all throughout the World Cup, and I think he deserved it. But I think now he's slowly starting to step up, which is good to see for someone of that price.
Yeah, I agree. Grealish over the last few weeks has arguably been City's best player. He's finally emerging into what I think a lot of people have expected him to be, which is good. I mean, I'm personally very happy about that, especially because I did not think that the 100 million was worth it when we signed him. I thought it was way too much. I would have said maybe like 50, 60 at best, not 100. But yeah, no,
Still don't think
he's
it's worth
looked
it.
good. What was that?
Still don't think it's worth it, honestly. But
I
not many
still
people
don't
are.
think it's worth it per se, but he's been better. He's definitely been better. There's no doubt in my mind that Grealish has at least been playing the way he should be. I would still like to see the goals slash assists increase from him. Holland has looked a bit cold recently. I think City needs to find a way to get him more involved, or bench him for a game, use Alvarez, see how that goes, and then Holland will be hungry or send him back out and go from there. I think that they need to figure out ways to utilize him because I mean it's not like you have just some bang average striker in your team. You have Erling Holland. You have a generational talent on your hands. Use him. I mean, they got to throw more balls in the box. They got to throw more through balls for him. Like, I don't know where Kevin De Bruyne was this game. I think he might have been hurt for it, but they need to utilize just giving Holland chances because if they don't give him anything, he won't score. Um, the goal that City got was a little lucky. Grealish had a good cut in, and then it found Mahrez. They need more of that with Holland. Um, because I mean, if they're able to utilize him, there's no reason they can't win the UCL. Uh, but yeah, overall decent result for City. Not really much else to say for that.
Yeah, nothing to add to that. But we can move on to that last game, which was honestly also kind of a bore.
Yeah,
at
I
least
didn't
for
watch
me.
this one per se, but yeah, it was Inter Milan beating FC Porto 1-0 through a goal through Mr. Romelu Lukaku. Um, when I saw that, the first thing that I said was Lukaku, like the meme. But yeah, good win for Inter, but Porto definitely have a chance to overcome them this game, this second leg.
I did expect a little bit more from Inter just based on how good they have been over the season. And Porto is definitely not a team that you can sleep on. They're very good in their own right, and they do very well in the Portuguese league. But I think an Inter win is probably what many people would expect. But I think coming into the next game, it could completely flip over on its head.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also important to note that Porto have won the Champions League before. I mean, it's not like this team is somebody who is new to the tournament, new to uh new to the Champions League. I mean, this team has won the Champions League before with Jose Mourinho back in '04. So the fact that I mean they're only down 1-0, they are absolutely still in this race. And they've got some good players too. Diogo Costa made, I think, what is the save of the tournament in that game. Um, that goal, I mean, the header from I think it was one of the Inter center backs. I believe it was Bastoni. Has a great header. Most goalkeepers are going to get beat by that. Diogo Costa stretches out a hand, makes a fantastic save to keep it out. I mean, they have him. They have Pepe. Ivan Marcano is a good player. They don't have Otavio for the next game. He was sent off on a second yellow. But then you also got guys like Mehdi Taremi who are always good for a goal. So there's a lot that could happen here, but Porto's not out of it.
No, yeah, I would not be surprised if they came back to win or at least draw and leave it to penalties in the end. But I think that's one of the games to watch. That's could
Yeah,
influence the next round based on who goes.
absolutely. And it definitely is important to note as well that none of the Premier League teams won. Now, I believe all of them except for Liverpool were away, so that could be a factor. But um, it's not a good look if you're trying to promote yourselves as the best league in the world. Um, yeah, not a good look. All of the Italian teams had much better fares. AC Milan won, Inter Milan won, Napoli won. So is Italy on the rise again? Perhaps they are. It's quite possible.
I was very happy to see this, especially even from a German standpoint. You get 2 wins, a draw, and a tough loss to probably one of the favorites in the tournament. But that was good to see, promoting the league or the Bundesliga itself. But that was definitely one that probably no one expected to see no Prem team win in a European standpoint. Of course, you have Manchester United who was able to do it this week, but that's a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, I mean, we can briefly touch upon that match. Man U winning 2-1, drawing with Barcelona in Barcelona. I mean, here's the thing. This is arguably my two least favorite teams playing each other. I despise both Man U and Barca, but I despise Man U less. Therefore, I was extremely happy when Barcelona got knocked out of the Europa League because it's another thing that they didn't win. And that means that they are not going to get any more money from that. Their finances are going to be completely shot up until they win La Liga, and that makes me very happy as a Madrid fan. So, screw you, Barcelona. You're out of the Europa League. So now you can't even talk to us Madrid fans and say, "Oh yeah, we're in first." Well, guess what? We're in the Champions League, and you're not in any other competition.
Damn, there was some hatred behind that. I could tell.
Oh yeah, no,
I
there
think
is.
Barca still has a good chance to win the league, unless some slip ups occur, which has happened before. But at least maybe a positive for them to take out of this is they can completely focus on La Liga and not have to spread across different ones.
Yeah, I think at this point we know that the Champions League is Madrid's competition, so I think they could care less about losing La Liga, as long as they win the UCL. So it's not really that big of a deal, I think, for Madrid. But they're going to be looking at that Barcelona result and laughing to themselves because they couldn't even win the Europa League. I mean, being one of the favorites to win that, I mean, that's just sad. Obviously, Man U, I would say, is the favorite to win it, but eh, them or Arsenal. But yeah, not Barcelona. Sorry, guys, you're out.
It is tough though when you come up against the other best team in the thing, and one of you has to go home. It's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, it just makes me happy because it means I can make fun of their fans online. But yeah, going into a couple Premier League games. So the Europa League is definitely very interesting. I think we'll cover a bit more of it as it goes along. Um, some big teams left in there with Roma, Arsenal, Man U, among others. But a couple Premier League games. Chelsea, Chelsea. If it couldn't get worse for them after losing to Dortmund, they lost to Southampton, who are without a coach and bottom of the league. I mean, I get that James Ward-Prowse is an absolute god from free kicks, but still, you lost to the bottom team in the league. You couldn't score against them. Where do you go from here if you're Chelsea?
Listen, well, let me say one thing. I was losing to Dortmund is not a bad thing. Like that is a formidable
No, for
team
sure.
who is definitely could have went in there as the favorites, I would say. Um, but then you lose to Southampton, who, of course, they've performed against big teams this year. They performed against City. It's just maybe something that they do. I wouldn't want to call Chelsea a big club though, at this point, because we have a segment on them every week, and not once has it been positive. Uh, not like maybe that's just us, but there has been no positives to take out of this. He is going to get sacked in the coming weeks, and if he isn't, then it's horrible management. There's no reason to keep him. You could bring back Tuchel. You could bring in those new coaches that you were saying, Enrique, whatnot. There's so many better options. Literally, you can get a high school coach from Rhode Island, and they would be a better option than Graham Potter. That's it's ridiculous.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, so we're based in the New England area, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. That's about as low of an insult as you can get. I mean, that is extremely insulting. I mean, at this point, I wonder if I could do a better job than Graham Potter. I mean, and I have absolutely no coaching experience, but hey, neither did the guy who coached Southampton before he got fired. But um, yeah, I don't get it. At this point, Roberto De Zerbi's a better coach than Graham Potter, and he just took over Brighton. I
You
I
could
don't
throw
see
in Evan. Evan would have a better chance of taking Chelsea to the Champions League than Graham Potter, and I could
Uh,
stand by that.
absolutely. There's no way he wouldn't. I mean, he would never take the Chelsea job because it's Evan, and he would be like, "Oh, Liverpool till I die." But it's any of us. I think anyone that has been on this, like Matt, I think could also do a better job. And he's 16. Um, I think Graham Potter is just. I don't get it. I do not get the hype around the guy. Um, and I mean, I'll give props to the Irish guy on YouTube. He saw through it, and he doesn't see through many things. He usually gets his predictions horribly wrong, but the one thing he was right about was Graham Potter. Um, and yeah, I don't say 2 wins in 14 games. I don't know how that's not sackable form. You're Chelsea Football Club. You just let this guy spend over 500 million of your dollars, and he can't win. Like he can't win. I'm at a loss for words at this point. Like I hate that I keep ragging on Chelsea, but they haven't gotten any better.
They keep giving us reasons to do so. And one of my very close friends is a Chelsea diehard, and at least one text a day, he's complaining about Potter. It's he wants Tuchel back, or really anyone at this point. But there's no conceivable reason that you can tell me why Potter deserves to keep this job. I have to just assume that he's really good friends with Bowley because there's no other reason I can think of to keep him.
Yeah, no, there's not. There literally isn't. I don't get it why he hasn't been fired. Um, He will be. I mean, there's no way they keep him till the if this form continues, if he can't right the ship, I mean, he should be axed instantly. Um, but yeah, I mean, two other games that did happen after the Chelsea one. Man U or not Man U, Man City played Nottingham Forest, and I was not happy after this game. I mean, they Nottingham Forest had one shot, and that one shot was their goal from Chris Wood. Man City beat this team 6-2 earlier this or 6-0 earlier this year. And now you can't beat them, especially after beating Arsenal. I don't understand what happened there, but it is what it is. It's still a draw. Arsenal haven't looked great. They obviously had a good win, late win over Villa, but it's not a good look for City drawing 1-1 against Nottingham Forest.
Can't say either team has looked really that good recently. Even against Arsenal, Man City had horrible possession, and I couldn't say it was a game that dominated until, of course, they scored all those goals. What are you going to do about it? But even so, like that's not the caliber that you usually perform at. And then Arsenal, you would expect them to win, especially against Aston Villa, but it wasn't easy. You even needed a little bit of help to do so. Which you can touch on that. I know you haven't made a note about that.
I'm just gonna say that after the World Cup, Emiliano Martinez is one of my least favorite players in the Prem, and now I have even more of a reason to hate the guy. He's obviously a former Arsenal player, and if he didn't dive at the ball would have gone over it would have gone like straight out, and maybe it could have fallen for somebody, but instead it hits the crossbar, hits Martinez on the back, and goes in to win Arsenal the game. I mean, come on. I get you're a former Arsenal employee, but dude, you're screwing Man City over right now, buddy. I don't like you right now. I do not. And then you taunt, Mbappe. Like, come on. You play for Villa.
I mean, yeah, I don't really know what to make of that. Obviously, Arsenal completely flipped the game over in the second half, which is what you would expect them to do. You would expect them to win games like that outright. But it was just kind of funny, really. I mean, he was such a quality keeper in every right in the World Cup, and it's just not something that you've seen since then, which you could say for a lot of players, honestly. They just haven't been performing up to par like they have a couple months ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's Enzo Fernandez is another one. I mean, he's been decent for Chelsea, but hasn't taken off entirely yet. But um, yeah, there isn't really much else to touch upon in the Prem. Uh, it's it's still wide open, but we'll see what happens there. One note that you made was, and something that I found very interesting was the top three teams in the Bundesliga all have 43 points. And the top three are Bayern Munich, Union Berlin, and Dortmund. So it's very tight. It's a very tight league, and then not to mention the gap between fourth and fifth is also very small. So the Bundesliga is wide open.
I've come to terms with half of it, and I have said to people outside the podcast, if Bayern will not win this league this year, don't be Dortmund. If Union Berlin wins this, it's honestly pretty cool if you think about it. For the first team to win it, other than Bayern in 10 years, is a team that no one even knows for the last couple of years. It would be nice, and of course, I hate Dortmund, so I'm gonna hope that they don't win. And listen, anyone but Dortmund is fine. But obviously, I would hope and expect a team like Bayern to be able to carry out their duties for however many games are left.
Listen, I get that you don't like Dortmund, but outside of Bayern, they're a pretty likable team. There isn't much bad about that team. I mean,
For sure.
the yellow wall has some of the best fans in the world. I mean, come on, those guys cheer louder than just about
Agreed.
anybody. I mean, they are fantastic. I mean, you can't say that that team doesn't deserve a win. Like, as much as
Yes,
I
I
hate
do.
Barcelona, they have some good. I mean, some of their fans are good. Some of the others are just annoying and make me want to jump off a cliff. But like Dortmund has some really good fans, and while I don't really follow the
They
Bundesliga
do.
too closely, they're the team I would go behind. But at the same time, I would want to see Union Berlin win the league because it's a team that no one expected to win the league. So I can
It
get
would be
behind
like a
either.
Leicester City. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it
it would
wouldn't
be a
be
Leicester
that.
City story. I think that's good.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
obviously Berlin
it's my
made the.
job.
Yeah, I know, but
My job to hate Dortmund, and I'm going to do it. And I don't really. There's nothing particularly wrong with them, but it's Dortmund, and that's my job. That's just how this game works. You know, you hate United and you hate Barca. That's kind of your job.
yeah, but like the difference between the two is that Barca and Madrid have always hated each other. I mean, the team that you guys should dislike is Mönchengladbach. I mean, that team has had your number the last 5 times you played them. You even
We
took
don't
their
talk about
goalkeeper
that.
and you couldn't win.
We don't talk about that. They don't exist as far as I'm concerned. And you want to know something really fun? Gladbach is losing right now to Mainz 3-0 in the 80th minute. So I don't know what the hell is going on. It's
Yeah,
literally only
they beat
against
you and
Bayern.
lose
It
to
makes
everyone
no
else. It's
sense.
usually how it
It
goes.
makes no sense. They suck. They are awful. How do they only beat Bayern very consistently? And if they don't beat them, they draw them, which in my eyes is a loss for Bayern standards. What the hell? What the hell? I don't get
Yep,
it. I never
that's
will.
Mönchengladbach for you. But yeah, I mean, I would be okay with Union Berlin winning the league. I mean, it would be a shock. I'm not going to be mad about that. I also won't be mad if Dortmund win. I mean, come on, you've won it 10 years in a row. Like, let
I
somebody
don't
else have
care.
a
I
turn.
don't. I want more. I want more.
Of course you do. Yeah, but that'll do it for all of our games for the week. Now moving into our usual segment of idiot, goal, and hero of the week. Let's do goal of the week first, and I'll start us off here. Darwin, I chose Darwin Nunez. I mean, it was a great flick past Courtois. Um, about the only highlight other than Salah capitalizing on Courtois slip for Liverpool in that game, but it was a good goal. It was a well taken goal by Nunez. He completely had Courtois fooled. The flick absolutely tricked him, and it was a lovely bit of skill. It's a goal that I respect, but obviously it didn't change the outcome of the game, and Madrid still won. But it was a good, nicely taken goal.
Yeah. Just for the sake of originality, because I can't disagree with that pick. I would have if you didn't. Uh, Two free kicks actually I want to highlight both Messi and Ward Prowse, both game-winning free kicks. Um, Anytime someone scores a free kick, it's just really nice to see, and it's worthy of a contender for goal of the week, unless some shithousery happens. Um, I think these are both really well taken, Ward Prowse and Messi, and obviously they're very important. And it's always cool to see goals like that. So I'll have both of those as my two-way.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't really have any qualms with that. As you said, Nunez is probably the best of the week, but those are also both very good shouts. Um, and yeah, no real issues there. Moving on to our idiots of the week. I mean, there were a lot of options here. Obviously, both Courtois and Allison stick out for having two laughable errors in the same match. I can't really say the last time I've seen that happen. I guess it's whenever Liverpool faces Madrid, their goalie decides to forget how to play the position. Um, we've seen that happen before. But I mean, both of them are definitely a shout. Emiliano Martinez is a shout for diving and letting it hit his back, and also Chelsea. We've picked them before, and also I put Liverpool as a shout because they got absolutely undressed by Real Madrid. But overall, out of all of these, I think the one that had the biggest impact on the game was Allison because Liverpool were up 2-1. The first goal he's not really at fault for. It was a good, well taken shot by Vinicius, but the second one, oh, I mean, he could have just kicked it to the sidelines. And I get that Courtois made a similar error, but the reason I picked Allison is because his team would go on to lose 5-2. His completely changed the momentum. Courtois, yeah, it was a bad error, but Madrid still went on after that. He didn't get scored on after that happened. And I think Allison's changed the whole trajectory of the game, so I'm going to pick him.
Yeah, there's no way to be original with this one. I think it was a keeper's worst nightmare this week for a lot of them. Like you said, Martinez and Courtois. Martinez and Courtois both obviously made their hilarious mistakes. But with Courtois, like you said, he ended up winning the game. And with Martinez, they were already going to lose that game anyway. So Allison's really was kind of the one that changed the trajectory of the game. Not to say that it was any more ugly than the other ones, but it definitely had more of an impact. So I'll agree with that. I'll pick Allison for that one.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it was shocking. And then he went on to, concede three more. So there was that. And finally, our hero of the week. I'm gonna go with a guy I've picked before. I gotta go with Vinicius Jr. Um, once again, he has an absolutely outstanding performance. I could have really picked a lot of guys from Madrid. Luka Modric definitely had a great game. Benzema had a great game. Not Courtois, but everyone else in Madrid, I mean, had a decent game. Valverde looked good. Camavinga looked good. Um, Rodrigo at times looked good, but I'm going to go with Vinicius. He got Madrid back in the game with a good, well taken finish, and then a lucky goal. But he did the hard work to rush Allison and take it off of his boot. So I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, I'm gonna do another double right now. I'm gonna say earlier last week, VAR against PSG really saved Bayern's ass. So I'll have to, write a strongly worded thank you email to whoever was running it at the time, because that was just a hair offsides, and many people wouldn't have even called that. But very happy that was the case. And then, of course, one that happened, I believe, yesterday. Di Maria scored his first hat trick for Juventus in the Europa League, and it was one that would push them on to the next round. So, obviously, Di Maria is a very likable player. Never had a problem with him. He's always been fun to watch, even in the World Cup when he scored the first goal for them in the final. It was cool to see for him.
Yeah, I mean, as a Madrid fan, I loved watching Di Maria play for us. He was absolutely immense, and to see him score a hat trick for Juventus, who probably want to win the Europa League more than just about anybody else, because it's most likely their only route to the Champions League. To watch him do that was absolutely incredible, and I have no issues with that pick at all. I do miss him in a Madrid shirt. I do think he was unfairly treated at United. I think he wasn't given enough of a chance there, but that's football and that happens. But Di Maria is a class player, and he proved it again yesterday. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and Juventus really needed it, so it just adds more stake to it. So I think it was good.
absolutely. Well, that will do it for us this week. We talked about a lot. We talked about all of the Champions League matches. We went over some, went into depth with a couple other ones. And we forgot to mention that Sergio Ramos retired from the Spanish national team. Yeah, congrats to him as a Madrid fan. I love the guy. He's done a lot of service for us. We'll touch upon that quickly there, but we talked about the tragic news surrounding Amancio and Christian Atsu. Um, obviously we never want to see that in the game of football or outside of it. But, so our tributes go to them. We talked about all of the Champions League games that have happened over the last couple of weeks, with some big wins for everybody but the Premier League. And then we went into some Premier League matches. Chelsea losing to Southampton, Man City being unable to capitalize against Nottingham Forest, and then Emiliano Martinez giving Arsenal the win over Aston Villa. And then we talked about the Bundesliga, the fact that the top three all of the same point amounts, which is kind of insane. And then we went into our usual segment of idiot, goal, and hero of the week. As always, I'm Grayson Mortimer,
Well, Royven.
and we will see you next time.